Listen to the sound of the shadows. Have you ever paused long enough to hear the breath of the damp earth, or the subtle rustle of what is decomposing beneath your feet? Most of us spend our entire lives running away from the mud. We fear the stain on our clothes, the dirt under our fingernails, and most of all, we fear the dark, damp places within our own souls. We worship purity. We crave clean edges, polished surfaces, and lives that look like untouched marble. But there is a truth we rarely dare to face. Marble is cold and sterile. It is a place where things go to be admired, but mud is the place where things go to be born. Rin sits in his humble workshop, tucked away in a valley where the light arrives late and departs far too early. To Rin, his life feels exactly like the shapeless lump of gray clay sitting on his wheel, heavy, cold, and seemingly beyond saving. He looks at his hands. The hands of an artist, yet they are cracked and caked with dried muck. He feels a deep, quiet disgust for this mess. He is exhausted by the labor of trying to create beauty out of something he considers so low, so filthy, and so common. In Rin's mind, happiness is something bright and unattainable, a translucent jade vase without a single flaw, a summer day without a single cloud. He does not yet understand that when we try to scrub away every trace of the earth from our history, we accidentally bleach the life out of our own veins. We live in an era where perfection is the only accepted currency. We hide our failures, we camouflage our scars, and we assume that healing means returning to a state where we look like we have never been touched by the world. But that is not healing. That is denial. And denial is the... Are you trying to build a fortress of glass for yourself? A place where everything is transparent, orderly, and free from the possibility of error? Rin was once a resident of that fortress. He believed that if he worked hard enough, if he controlled every variable of temperature and glaze, he could produce a masterpiece that was immortal. He was terrified of the cracks. He was paralyzed by the thought of imperfection. But a glass tower, no matter how high, is brittle. And when it shatters, as all glass eventually must, the shards cut much deeper than the mud ever could. Look at the pile of broken shards in the corner of Ren's studio. Those aren't just failed pots. They're shattered hopes. They're the remains of a man who thought he could bargain with life. Every time a form collapsed on his wheel, Ren felt a part of himself die. He would ask the silent room, "Why must I work with this filth? Why is the world so full of disappointment, so heavy with sorrow, and so stained with the grime of failure?" He had forgotten that ceramics is the holy union of earth, water, and fire. Without the humble starting point of the mud, there is no porcelain. To reject the mud is to reject the very roots of existence. When you reject your pain, you reject your capacity for empathy. When you dry up your tears before they can fall, you wither the garden of your own compassion. Rin was caught in what the sages call resistance to the present. He wanted the end result, the glory of the blossom, but he despised the soil that was trying to feed it. The monsoon rains have turned the marshland behind the workshop into a thick, black sea of muck. Rin walks out into the damp air, letting his bare feet sink deep into the cool, yielding earth. The sensation is jarring at first, but then a strange connection begins to form. He looks down at the stagnant water, where decaying leaves are dissolving into the dark water. It smells of rot, yes, but it also smells of infinite potential. It is the scent of life in its most raw, uncurated form. The great teacher once said, "No mud, no lotus." This is not just a poetic metaphor. It is a fundamental law of the universe. A lotus does not bloom on a bed of diamonds. It does not bloom in a sterilized laboratory, and it certainly does not bloom in the empty air. It needs the mud. It needs the nutrients found in the decomposition of the old to create the luminous pink of the new. If you were to pluck a lotus from the swamp and place it in a bowl of distilled water, it would wither within hours. It would miss its dirt. It would miss the very thing we find repulsive. Rin kneels by the edge of the dark pond. He sees a tiny green shoot piercing through the thickest part of the grime. This tiny shoot is defiant. It is vibrant. It has to push through the weight of the water and the pressure of the sludge just to see the sun. It doesn't complain about the filth. It doesn't ask why it wasn't born in a clearer pond. It simply is. It uses the waste of the swamp as the fuel for its nobility. This is the moment we must ask ourselves, what is the mud in your life right now? Is it a broken relationship that has left you feeling discarded? Is it a career that collapsed under its own weight? Or is it a deep-seated insecurity that has haunted you since childhood? We are taught to treat these things as garbage to be thrown away. But if you look with the eyes of mindfulness, you will see that they are your greatest assets. They are the fertilizer for your soul. Without that specific pain, your heart would never be wide enough to hold the world. Healing is not the erasure of the past. Healing is the transformation of the way we perceive the past. Rin returns to his wheel, but he no longer looks at the gray clay with resentment. He strokes it. He feels its moisture, its flexibility, and even its stubbornness. He realizes that the clay isn't dirty. It is simply a form of energy waiting for a hand that is loving enough to guide it into art. He sits at the wheel. The motor hums like a low-frequency mantra. Rin closes his eyes and lets his breath lead his hands. He is no longer fighting the material. He is dancing with it. When the clay leans, he follows. When it thins, he supports it. This is the union of the artisan and the element, the union of the human and their fate. True healing begins when we stop resisting reality and start collaborating with it. Watch as Rin picks up the cracked vase he had cast aside days ago. Instead of hiding the break, he chooses to celebrate it. He mixes tree resin with gold powder, creating a luminous lacquer. With the precision of a surgeon and the heart of a poet, he begins to fill the cracks. This is kintsugi, the art of precious scars. The cracks are no longer signs of weakness. They are golden rivers mapping the history of the vessel's survival. Every scar on your heart is a golden line in the story of your life. Do not hide them behind masks of fake happiness. Gild them with your awareness. Each heartbreak you have survived is a testament to your resilience. You are no longer a brittle glass tower. You have become a work of ceramic art, fired by life, strengthened by struggle, and made beautiful by the very things that try to break you. As the golden hour bathes the workshop in amber light, Rin places the finished kintsugi vase on the windowsill. Next to it, in a simple bowl of water, the lotus bud from the marsh begins to unfurl. The silence is profound. There is no longer a battle in his mind, no more blame for his circumstances. There is only the present. We often think that peace is something we find at the end of a long journey, in some distant place where burdens do not exist. But the truth is much closer. Nirvana is found in the midst of birth and death. Happiness is found in the heart of suffering. Healing is the ability to stand in the middle of the mud and still catch the scent of the lotus. It is looking at your own imperfections and whispering, "Thank you for feeding me." Do not wait for life to stop being difficult before you decide to be happy. Do not wait for your soul to be spotless before you decide to love yourself. Love the fragments. Love the mud on your hands. Because right now, in this very breath, when you accept the darkest parts of your journey, the lotus of your awakening is already beginning to bloom. Take a deep breath. Feel the air enter your lungs, carrying the energy of the earth and the sky. You are not what you own, and you are not what you have lost. You are the vast space between the mud and the flower, where everything is being transformed by love. Welcome home. Welcome to the sanctuary of the present moment, where the mud and the lotus sing the same song of life.